Hello, and welcome back to Quite Story, the channel that helps you drift into dreams, one boring, historically accurate tale at a time. Tonight, we're going somewhere quiet. Back in time. Way back. To a place with mountains wrapped in mist, paper doors that whisper when they slide open, and the ever-watchful silence of a land built on honor. Feudal Japan wasn't just swords and samurai. It was muddy fields, delicate customs, chilly floors, and rules so strict they could make a bow feel like life or death. So, close your eyes, lay back, and let your breathing slow as you imagine what it would be like to survive even one day in this ancient, quiet, very complicated world. Let's begin. Welcome to Feudal Japan. The air is cool, sharp even. You feel it brush against your cheek before anything else registers. A soft gust, smelling faintly of wood smoke, and something vaguely earthy. Maybe rice? You open your eyes slowly. Above you, the ceiling is wooden. Not smooth, though. Uneven. Rough-hewn beams, dark with age. There's no glass in the windows, just paper, thin and pale like eggshell, held in a wooden frame. Light spills through, soft and indirect, as if the sun itself is being polite. You're lying on something unfamiliar. A futon, though you don't know that word yet. It's firm, thin, and set directly on a wooden floor that groans under even the smallest movement. Your body aches. Not in the dramatic, epic tale way, just that quiet, realistic kind of sore. Like you slept weird, and your neck is voting for revolution. You sit up. The room is empty, except for a folded kimono and a pair of sandals placed neatly by the door. There's a ceramic bowl beside you, steaming gently. Inside, rice broth. Thin, pale, and maybe too humble to be called breakfast. You lift the bowl and sip. It's warm. Simple. But as you swallow, you hear something. A voice, low and distant, calling out from beyond the sliding screen. Not angry. Not kind. Just expectant. You freeze. Are you supposed to respond? Do you bow first? Stand up now? Take the bowl with you. Do you wear the kimono? Or is that someone else's? Congratulations. It's been 4 minutes, and you've already broken 3 unspoken rules. This is Feudal Japan. And the etiquette here is so deeply ingrained, so invisible and omnipresent, that every move you make, even a blink, carries weight. You slide the door open. Carefully. Slowly. It makes a sound like parchment being torn underwater. Outside, a courtyard with gravel raked into careful spirals. A single pine tree leans toward a stone lantern. An old man sits waiting for you. He nods. You bow back. You think. Too fast. He says nothing, but something inside you knows. That wasn't quite right. You walk forward, sandals flapping softly. The courtyard is peaceful. Birds chirp somewhere behind the wall. A monk sweeps fallen leaves with rhythmic patience. The old man gestures toward a small garden table. You sit. Too quickly. He raises an eyebrow. This is your first lesson. In this world, doing nothing too fast is often the best choice. You're served more tea than you want and far more silence than you know how to handle. You try to sip quietly, but the slurp was too loud. You set the cup down, and it clinks against the tray, like a cymbal in a moment meant for flutes. Still, no one scolds you. That's the cruelest part. No one tells you what you've done wrong. They just watch. And the silence grows heavier. You're handed a wooden staff. Led to a trail that winds behind the compound, past bamboo groves and birds that scatter like clouds. Your task? To fetch water. Or maybe just reflect. It's hard to say, because no one's really explained anything. They assume you'll figure it out. Feudal Japan doesn't come with an instruction manual. Just expectations. Thousands of years of them. The stream trickles gently. You kneel. Fill a wooden bucket. Spill some. Apologize, to no one in particular. As the sun climbs higher, the stillness around you settles deep into your bones. Not unpleasant. Just slow. Heavy. Beautiful, in its own way. But also strict. Unforgiving. You don't speak the language. You don't know the rules. And worst of all, you don't even know which ones you've already broken. But the rice broth was warm. The air smells like cedar and ash. And somewhere inside you, you already know. You are not going to last a day here. You wake up in a peasant hut and everything hurts. You wake with a shiver. Not from fear. Just from cold. The kind that has settled into the bones of the house itself. Into the wood, into the floor, into you. It isn't the sharp bite of winter. It's worse. The kind of chill that lingers at dawn in a damp valley, clinging to the skin like wet cloth. You feel it on your cheeks. In your knees. Beneath your fingernails. You're lying on your side, curled slightly, stiff from the effort of trying not to move in your sleep. Your bed, if that's the word for it, is a mat made of tightly woven straw. It rests directly on wooden planks that are uneven, creaky, and cold. There's no pillow. No blanket. Just your rough, hempen robe, wrinkled from sleep and heavy with the moisture of the morning. Every joint in your body is filing a complaint. Your neck clicks as you lift it. Your hips ache from the pressure of wood beneath bone. Your shoulders feel as though they've carried something heavy, even though all you've done is survive the night. And you realize slowly, you didn't die. You didn't freeze. But you are definitely not alright. You sit up. Slowly. Carefully. As if the air might break you. The inside of the hut is dark, but not silent. A small child coughs in the next room. Something stirs in the ashes of the hearth. A rat, maybe. Or just the wind sneaking through the gaps in the wall. The roof is low, and the beams hang like ribs overhead. You notice smoke stains on the wood above, as though generations of fires have breathed the same breath into the ceiling again and again, leaving behind only soot and memory. You glance to your side. Another mat. Empty now. Whoever shared this space with you has already gone. Of course they have. People here rise with the sun, or before it. Not out of discipline. Out of necessity. You're late, though you're not sure how late. There is no bell. No clock. Only the quiet scorn of a world that expects you to know what to do without being told. You rub your eyes. Rub your face. Your hands are dry. Cracked in the creases. There's a cut on your palm you don't remember getting. The sliding door is made of paper and wood, a shoji panel, yellowed and patched in places. You push it open carefully, the way you've seen others do. It groans against the track. Outside, the light is pale and silver gray. Morning mist drapes over the ground like fallen silk, curling around the feet of chickens and villagers alike. Thin smoke rises from nearby chimneys. Somewhere, a dog barks once. A woman tosses out water from a bucket. A baby cries faintly, then stops. No one greets you. No one waits. You are already behind. You slip on your waraji, straw sandals that are stiff, damp, and barely protective. They scratch at your skin. You wince with every step. Your robe sags off your shoulder. The sash needs tying, but your fingers feel clumsy. You follow the others, not because you've been told to, but because it's your only choice. Everyone walks as if they've done this forever. As if they were born in motion. Feet in mud. baskets on backs. You shuffle behind a young woman carrying a bundle of twigs. She doesn't acknowledge you. No one does. Not out of cruelty, just indifference. You're part of the landscape now. A shape in the mist. Another back bent toward the earth. Breakfast is not really breakfast. It's a pause. A refill. In a corner of the communal house, a pot bubbles lazily over a low fire. The firewood hisses with moisture. Smoke lingers inside the room, stinging your eyes. An older man ladles out portions without speaking. You're handed a small bowl of okayu, watery rice porridge with a sliver of pickled plum, if you're lucky. No meat. No salt. No second helpings. You sit on your heels the way the others do. Ankles folded beneath you. Knees forward. Your thighs tremble almost instantly. You don't have the posture for this. You don't have the muscles. You spill a little rice. No one corrects you, but a boy nearby stares. The rice is warm, soft, comforting, if you don't think about it too much. But it's not filling. It's not enough. It's never enough. Still, you eat every grain. You return the bowl. No thanks is needed. Or wanted. Then you go to work. The fields are waiting. You walk down a narrow dirt path, worn smooth by feet that came before yours. Rice paddies stretch ahead, vast, shallow rectangles of standing water. Reflected sky in the mud. The tools are simple. A hoe. A rake. A woven basket. The labor is not. You join a line of peasants already bent low in the field. They don't stop. They don't acknowledge you. You're expected to copy, to figure it out. You step into the water. It's cold, thicker than it looks. Your foot sinks deep into the mud. Then the other. Your balance slips. A sharp inhale, a muffled splash. You don't fall, not this time. You try to plant seedlings. Your spacing is wrong. You try again. The rhythm escapes you. Left hand, right foot, plant, pull, shift, balance. The sun rises higher, but offers little warmth. Your robe clings to your back. Sweat mingles with mist. Your knees ache. Your back burns. Your hands develop small blisters that bloom like painful flowers. You don't complain. No one would listen. Hours pass. You lose track of them. Time here is measured only by shadow and pain. Midday. A short break. Not rest, just not work. You squat in the shade of a stunted tree. Your legs are shaking. You're offered barley tea in a cracked wooden cup. It's cold. Bitter. You drink it anyway. You spill again. No one scolds you. No one praises you either. A woman mutters something nearby. You catch only a few words. Maybe about you. Maybe not. You can't tell yet. You're still too foreign. Too slow. Back to the fields. More water. More bending. More silence. You hear the cries of a crane flying overhead. You see a frog leap from a patch of weeds. And once, just once, when you stand up straight and stretch your sore spine toward the distant blue mountains, you feel something like peace. Something like awe. Then you drop your rake. And it lands in the mud. And someone groans behind you. Back to work. By dusk, your robe is soaked, your sandals are half lost in the mire, and your face is drawn and pale. You limp back to the village. No one waits for you. The same pot as this morning waits near the fire, steaming weakly. You eat again. Rice again. One radish slice if you're lucky. You don't speak. You wouldn't know what to say. You lie on your mat. Your whole body hums, not with energy, but with the deep ache of something used up. You don't know what time it is. It doesn't matter. You stare at the ceiling beams. And you wonder, how did anyone do this for their whole life? And why does your back already feel like it belongs to someone twice your age? Your eyes close. The straw pokes you. The cold seeps in. And still, somehow, you fall asleep. Why your first bath might be your last. You wake to the familiar sting in your lower back, the dull ache behind your knees, and the faint burn across your shoulders where the sun kissed you too long yesterday. The straw mat beneath you has shifted again, uneven from your tossing. Your robe clings to your skin from the night's sweat, and your scalp itches from rice dust. You try to ignore it. You try not to scratch. Your hands, cracked and peeling, are filthy. Your feet feel crusted. The fabric near your collar smells faintly sour. You begin to wonder what it might take to feel clean again. You've watched others go, returning later with flushed faces and steam still rising from their skin, so when the quiet word passes that it's your turn to visit the Sento, you feel a strange mixture of dread and relief. You're told where to go, but not much more. No one offers you instructions. Only a glance and a nod toward the edge of the village, where smoke rises from a low, dark building that seems more shrine than bathhouse. The structure is simple. Wood bleached gray from weather. No signs, just a fabric curtain fluttering lazily in the wind. You step inside and are immediately greeted by moist air, dense and warm, almost too thick to breathe. Everything smells like damp cedar, faint ash, and something old, clean, and quiet. The walls drip gently. The wooden floor is slick beneath your feet. Light filters through gaps in the paneling, casting slow, shifting beams across worn buckets and steaming water. You're ushered to the changing area, separated only by a low screen. There is no privacy, just silence. The others, men of the village, aged and wiry, undress with practiced ease. Their bodies are scarred, their movements quiet. They don't stare at you, but they know you're new. You fumble with your robe, unsure where to put your eyes or your arms or your shame. You cling to the small towel you brought, barely larger than a napkin, and try to remember what you were told. Wash first. Always wash first. You're led to a row of short wooden stools, no taller than your knees. You sit. A ladle, a bucket, a basin, and a bar of hard soap that smells like old tea leaves and limestone. The water in the bucket is cold. Not refreshingly cold, but mountain stream cold. Cold that makes your lungs forget how to breathe. You hesitate, then tip the first ladle over your head. It bites instantly, trickling down your spine like sharp needles. You hunch, shudder, and begin to scrub. Your fingers are stiff, but you work methodically, mimicking those around you. Lather. Rinse. Repeat. The soap slips. The towel falls. The wood beneath you creaks. No one speaks. You notice your skin reddening under the friction. Your knees ache from crouching. But you keep scrubbing. You rinse again. You catch yourself checking others to see if you're doing it right. They don't notice. Or they pretend not to. A man beside you empties a bucket slowly over his shoulders. Another rinses his face with cupped hands. There's no ritual here, not exactly, just unspoken order. Clean before soak. Always. After what feels like forever, someone gestures gently toward a dark doorway. It leads to the bath proper. You step through, feet slipping slightly on the wet floor. The room beyond is even warmer. Steam curls in gentle sheets around you. In the center is a deep wooden tub, square, built into the floor, and filled with water so hot the air above it seems to shimmer. The scent of hinoki, cypress, is stronger here. It reminds you of something ancient. Of fire, water, and the clean scent of fresh cut wood. You lower yourself slowly. The water touches your calves and your breath catches in your throat. It feels like stepping into heat itself. You pause, then continue. Inch by inch, until your body is submerged to your chest. Your skin screams. But then, strangely, it relaxes. Muscles unclench. Pain dulls. For the first time in days, maybe since you arrived in this life, your body begins to remember comfort. The heat presses in from all sides, as though the water is folding itself around your tired shape. You close your eyes. Your pulse slows. You hear nothing but water and wood. For a moment, you let yourself believe this might be peace. But then, a sniffle. A wet cough. Someone clears their throat loudly nearby. You open your eyes. The bath is full, 6, maybe 7 other men. Their elbows float gently on the surface. Their eyes half closed. One of them rubs his nose with the back of his hand and dips that same hand back into the water. You feel a small shift in your stomach. A speck drifts toward you. You try not to move. You try not to think. But it's too late. You remember now, the bath is communal. The water is reused. There is no filter. No refresh. The tub is large, but not large enough to forget that it contains the sweat and skin of everyone inside it. You're soaking in a memory of other bodies. And you can't pretend otherwise. A man across from you leans his head back and spits lazily over the edge. Another scratches something under his arm and lets the water take it. You feel the urge to rise, but you hesitate. Would that seem rude? Would it draw attention? You've already offended someone once this week by stepping into a room with your sandals on. You don't know the rules here. You're not sure if you ever will. Eventually, you push yourself up, slowly, carefully. The air outside the tub feels sharp, cold against your overheated skin. You reach for your robe. It's still damp from earlier. There are no towels, no place to dry. Just your stiff, scratchy fabric. You wrap yourself in it and step out into the darkening air. By the time you return to your hut, your limbs feel heavy and hollow. You lie on the straw mat and close your eyes. Your skin still tingles from the bath. Your feet pulse with heat. You can't tell if you feel clean or just scraped. You think about the water, about the floating speck, about the man who spit, about how strange it is to feel relief and regret in the same breath. You understand now. Here, nothing is simple. Not even bathing. And as your body cools and your thoughts blur, you begin to realize something else. Tomorrow, you'll go back to the fields. And you'll sweat all over again. And you'll ache. And you'll stink. And when your turn comes again, you'll hesitate. Because the bath is not a comfort here. It's another ordeal. A ritual of survival, like rice, like labor, like sleep. And you're only just beginning to learn the rules. You're a samurai now, kind of, but you forgot to bow correctly. You think becoming a samurai means wielding a sword with ease, wearing armor that gleams in the sun, and charging into battle with fearless resolve. But the truth hits you before your first swing. The real battle is invisible, fought with every breath, every glance, every movement of your body. You have just stepped into a world where honor is law, hierarchy is religion, and your life depends on the precision of your posture and your ability to bow correctly. One wrong move, one shallow bow, and you might as well have drawn your sword against your lord. The courtyard is quiet, the kind of quiet that presses into your chest. The wooden floorboards beneath your sandals creak softly with every step, and the air smells of polished wood, faint incense, and the heavy tension of unspoken rules. Around you, samurai stand like statues, tall, straight, their every muscle controlled and disciplined. Their eyes are sharp, piercing. They don't look at you like an equal. They look like judges, guardians of a sacred code you barely understand. When the senior samurai approaches, your heart pounds like a war drum. You know the moment demands respect, but you're not sure how to show it. You attempt the bow, a simple act you thought you knew, but your muscles betray you. Your back doesn't straighten properly. Your bend is shallow, too quick. Your hands don't rest neatly at your thighs. They tremble and wander. You lift your eyes too soon, breaking the ritual's spell. You sense the flicker of displeasure from the samurai in front of you, subtle but unmistakable, like the tightening of a noose. In this world, a bow isn't just a polite gesture, it's a declaration of your place in the complex hierarchy that rules everything. It's a language without words, spoken with your whole body. To bow correctly means you acknowledge your position and respect those above you. To bow badly means you disrespect your lord, your peers, and even yourself. The consequences aren't merely social embarrassment, they can be deadly. A poorly performed bow is a challenge, a refusal, a statement of defiance. And in feudal Japan, defiance rarely ends well. The lessons start immediately. An older samurai steps forward, his voice low but firm, cutting through the silence like a blade. Lower your eyes. Keep your back straight but flexible, not stiff. Your hands should rest flat on your thighs. The bow must be deep, slow, deliberate. Not rushed. Not half-hearted. You repeat his words over and over in your head. You try to fold your body into the shape he demands. You bow. And you bow again. Sweat beads on your forehead. Your legs tremble. The weight of centuries of tradition presses down on you heavier than any armor or weapon. It's not only about bowing. Your entire existence is scrutinized. How you stand, how you sit, how you walk. A careless glance can be read as insolence. A loose grip on your sword is a threat. The samurai watch the smallest details, the way your fingers twitch, how you breathe, how your chest rises and falls. Every movement is a message. Every posture speaks your loyalty or your rebellion. You learn quickly that here, even silence speaks louder than words. You try to remember the stories you heard around village fires, the codes that samurai live and die by: discipline, loyalty, respect. But those are only the words. Here, they are carved into the very fabric of your being. They demand perfection. The slightest slip, a shallow bow, a wrong gesture, a too long stare, can unravel everything you've built. Your reputation, your honor, your life. One afternoon, after another failed bow, the senior samurai's patience snaps. His voice is quiet but deadly. Do you not understand the meaning of respect? The question isn't a request. It's a warning. You nod, swallowing the lump in your throat, knowing that this lesson is far beyond the physical. It's about humility, obedience, knowing your place in a world that never forgets a slight. You feel small, insignificant, a novice swallowed by masters. Yet deep inside, a fierce fire begins to burn. The desire to master this dance of honor, to survive by mastering your own body and spirit. You straighten your back once more, breath steady, hands steady, ready to bow again. Because in feudal Japan, your life depends not just on your sword, but on the way you carry yourself, the respect you show before you even speak. If you fail, you might not last the day. You try sake for the first time and immediately regret it. You've heard stories of sake, the sacred drink of feudal Japan, flowing freely at banquets and gatherings, a ritual that cements alliances and breaks down barriers. Tonight, you find yourself thrust into this world, inside a low-ceilinged wooden room, where lantern light casts long shadows on the polished floorboards. The air is thick with the mingled scents of tatami mats, burning incense, and the unmistakable sharpness of fermented rice. Bowls and cups of sake are passed from hand to hand, their lacquered surfaces gleaming like jewels in the firelight. When the cup reaches you, small and delicate, you feel its weight and hear the murmured invitation. Drink. You lift the cup with trembling fingers, hesitating for a moment. The liquid promises warmth and comfort, but the moment it touches your lips, regret floods in. The sake is not the smooth, sweet drink you imagined. It burns like liquid fire, harsh and raw, shocking your throat and lungs. Your eyes tear up involuntarily, and you cough, desperate to hide your weakness. Around you, the samurai notice. In this society, weakness is never overlooked, especially not in moments as public as this. The wrong gesture, the wrong expression, can brand you forever. But it's not just about swallowing the sake. The real challenge lies in the ceremony, the silent language of social drinking that everyone here knows by heart. Drinking alone is taboo, refusing a cup is an insult, and drinking too much is a mark of disgrace. Every pour, every sip, every clink of a cup is a carefully choreographed message, a statement of respect, trust, or sometimes a subtle test. You quickly realize sake is more than just a drink. It's a weapon and a shield, a code written in liquid form. You try to follow the conversation. Samurai lean in close, their faces serious, eyes sharp and unreadable. Their voices are low but carry weight, stories mingling with strategy, alliances, and veiled threats. Laughter breaks through occasionally, sharp, controlled, a reminder that even in celebration, tension simmers beneath the surface. You attempt to respond, to laugh, to toast in kind. But your head spins, your tongue thickens, and the words get tangled. The language feels foreign not only in sound but in meaning, and your attempts at joining the dance fall short. More than once, you discover the unspoken truth. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in silence. Knowing when not to speak, when to listen with your whole being, when to keep your thoughts locked tightly away. Saying too much, or the wrong thing, can be more dangerous than saying nothing at all. You watch how subtle gestures carry meaning, a narrowed eye, a slight stiffening of the shoulders, a quick glance away, all signals to be read carefully and respected. The room is alive with unspoken communication, and every word you utter is weighed and measured. The night stretches on, and the sake keeps flowing. Your body rebels against the burning liquid and the heavy air. Your mind becomes foggy, speech slurred and slow. You notice cautious glances from some warriors, the almost hidden smirks of others, as if they enjoy watching the novice struggle with the ancient game of drink and diplomacy. You understand that tonight your survival depends not on your sword arm, but on your ability to navigate this precarious social web. Eventually, you stumble outside into the cold night, the sharp air a rude shock to your overheated senses. You vow to yourself that next time you will be better prepared, more cautious, more aware, more respectful of the delicate dance that is sake drinking. You understand now that this isn't just about avoiding drunkenness, but about mastering a language of respect and silence, about knowing when to raise your cup and when to swallow your pride along with the bitter taste of sake. Because in feudal Japan, power is wielded as much in the quiet moments around a drinking bowl as on the battlefield. Knowing when to speak, when to listen, and when to stay silent might be the difference between life and death. And tonight, you learned that lesson the hard way. You thought the tea ceremony would be chill. It isn't. You step through the sliding shoji doors and into the dimly lit tea room, expecting a quiet reprieve from the chaos of your new life in feudal Japan. The room is modest yet meticulously arranged. Soft tatami mats cover the floor. A low wooden alcove displays a simple scroll with elegant calligraphy, and a single vase holds a fresh sprig of seasonal flowers. The faint scent of incense lingers in the air, mingling with the earthy aroma of steamed tatami. Gentle rays of sunlight filter through the paper screens, casting delicate, shifting patterns of light and shadow across the walls and floor. You think to yourself, surely, this tea ceremony will be a peaceful break. a calm moment to sip some warm tea and relax. You imagine a simple ritual, a break from the strict hierarchies and relentless expectations outside these walls. But the moment you cross the threshold, the atmosphere shifts. The room's silence is not restful. It is thick with centuries of tradition and expectation, a silence that demands your full attention and absolute respect. The host, an older man dressed in a plain but elegant kimono, moves with a deliberate grace that betrays decades of practice. Each of his movements, from the slow, careful arrangement of utensils to the gentle whisking of powdered green tea, is part of a choreography honed over centuries. This isn't a casual tea break. It's a sacred ritual, a spiritual practice where every gesture carries profound meaning. You watch, breath held, as the bamboo ladle dips into the kettle, scooping steaming water with care. The water is poured over the vibrant green matcha powder, and with a bamboo whisk, the tea is transformed into a frothy, bright concoction. The bowl, smooth and cool despite the heat of its contents, is finally passed to you. Your heart races. This is your moment, and you know the eyes of everyone present will be on you. Your palms are clammy as you reach out to receive the bowl with both hands. You bow your head slightly, mindful to show respect. The bowl feels heavier than you imagined, not just in weight, but in significance. You remember the instructions: turn the bowl slightly so you do not drink from its front, sip slowly, silently, savoring each taste. Then, wipe the rim carefully with your thumb and forefinger before passing the bowl on. Your mind reels with the gravity of these rules, but your body betrays you. Your fingers tremble, your elbow catches the edge of the low wooden table, and suddenly a drop of hot tea escapes the bowl's lip, slipping down and staining the pristine tatami mat. Time seems to freeze. The quiet hum of anticipation snaps into a sharp intake of breath from the gathered guests. You feel every eye dart toward you, the outsider who dared to break the sanctity of this ritual. In feudal Japan, spilling tea during the ceremony is no mere accident. It is a profound insult, a breach of etiquette that dishonors the host and disrupts the spiritual harmony of the moment. You can almost hear the whispers that will follow, the doubts cast on your upbringing, your respect, your worthiness to even sit here. Your heart pounds as you imagine the consequences: cold stares, whispered gossip, and the possibility of social exile. In this world, honor is everything, and a single mistake can unravel your place in society. The host's eyes meet yours, calm but unwavering, as if silently judging the depth of your failure. You bow deeply, cheeks burning with shame and humiliation, your breath shallow and quick. The stillness of the room has turned oppressive, the silence now loaded with unspoken judgment. Every rustle of kimono fabric feels like a reminder of your failure. You realize then that the tea ceremony is more than a peaceful gathering. It is a rigorous test of character, discipline, and mindfulness. It demands absolute control over your movements, your thoughts, your emotions. It teaches humility and respect, patience and presence. One misstep is not just a slip of the hand, it's a crack in the foundation of centuries-old tradition. As you try to steady your breath and calm your trembling hands, you feel the ceremony mirror the very nature of feudal Japan, a world where even the smallest acts are laden with meaning, where respect and honor are fragile treasures guarded fiercely, and where traditions serve as both armor and prison. When the ceremony finally ends and you step back into the open air, the tension in your body slowly begins to ease. But the lesson stays with you. In feudal Japan, even the gentlest rituals can be battlegrounds, and the consequences of failure reach far beyond embarrassment. A spilled drop of tea might cost you your dignity, your standing, or even your place in the world you are struggling to survive. Why you should never talk back to a daimyo. In feudal Japan, the social hierarchy isn't just a system. It's an unyielding force that shapes every breath you take and every word you speak. At the pinnacle of this structure sits the daimyo, regional lords whose power stretches over entire provinces. These men command armies, collect taxes, and wield influence that can alter the course of your life with a mere glance or a whispered command. To approach a daimyo demands the utmost respect, but to talk back to one? That's a reckless act that could cost you everything: your status, your honor, or even your life. You might think words are harmless, mere sounds used to express feelings or ideas. But here, in this world carved by sword and tradition, words carry a weight heavier than iron. They can build alliances as strong as castle walls or ignite conflicts more destructive than any siege. When directed upward, towards someone of such high rank, words become a weapon, one wielded carefully or not at all. Picture yourself standing in the grand hall of a daimyo's castle. The room is vast, its walls adorned with silk tapestries and lacquered screens depicting battles and landscapes. The daimyo sits before you, clad in robes embroidered with his clan's crest. His presence is immense, commanding a silence that feels almost suffocating. His eyes are sharp, assessing your every move, every breath. Speaking to him is like walking on thin ice. One wrong step, one careless word, and you could plunge into freezing depths. You remember the stories whispered among the villagers and samurai alike. A farmer who dared complain about excessive taxes disappeared overnight. No one spoke of him again. A samurai who questioned an order was stripped of his honor, forced into exile, his name erased from history. In this society, words are far more dangerous than swords. Talking back to a daimyo is not mere disrespect, it's a direct threat to the delicate order he maintains, a challenge to his authority that cannot be tolerated. Even if the daimyo's demands seem unjust or cruel, your survival depends on silence or carefully measured speech. Disagreement must be cloaked in humility, expressed through subtle hints and respectful phrases rather than outright contradiction. This is a complex dance of language, a performance where meaning is layered beneath every sentence. Mastering it takes years of observation and practice. Fail, and you risk harsh punishment, imprisonment, exile, or death. Your throat tightens as you stand before the daimyo, biting back words of frustration or protest. You swallow your pride, knowing that wisdom in this world often means knowing when to remain silent. Here, survival isn't about brute strength alone. It requires patience, tact, and an understanding of the invisible rules that bind society. Words here aren't just tools of communication. They are threads holding together a fragile fabric of power, respect, and fear. The weight of this realization presses on you heavily. To live in feudal Japan is to navigate a world where silence can be golden, and speaking out can be deadly. Every interaction with those above you is a test, a balance between honesty and diplomacy, obedience and subtlety. And in the shadow of the daimyo's gaze, you learn that the cost of a single misplaced word is more than embarrassment. It could be the price of your very existence. You tried to flirt in a kimono and offend someone's ancestors. You've heard that love is universal, that a smile, a kind word, or a simple compliment can bridge any cultural divide. But as you step into feudal Japan's delicate world of romance, wrapped in layers of silk and centuries-old tradition, you quickly realize how naive that assumption was. Here, flirting is an intricate dance woven from ritual, respect, and unspoken rules, where every gesture, word, and glance carries a weight that could honor or destroy you. First, there's the kimono itself. Not just clothing, but a living language of identity and intention. The fabric you wear tells stories: your clan, your social status, your age, your marital status. The colors, patterns, the way your sleeves hang, the precise manner in which your obi is tied, all communicate messages as clear as words to the keen observer. To attempt romance while ignorant of these signals is like trying to read a poem in a language you don't understand. Awkward at best, offensive at worst. Imagine the scene: A lively village festival under the pink bloom of cherry blossoms, lanterns flickering softly in the evening breeze. The air is thick with the mingled scents of incense, roasted fish, and sweet dango. You notice someone, a figure poised and graceful, draped in a shimmering kimono embroidered with cranes, symbols of longevity and good fortune. Their hair is styled with delicate kanzashi pins, each ornamental flower carefully chosen to reflect the season and their social standing. Your heart races. You decide to approach, hoping a compliment will spark a connection, maybe even a smile. You try to praise the beauty of their kimono, the elegance of their hair. Your words come out clumsy, laced with foreign inflections and unintended meanings. In your culture, a compliment about appearance is harmless, maybe flattering. But here, words echo through time. Complimenting a woman on her attire, especially without the correct formalities or awareness, can be seen as trivializing her honor. Worse, if your words inadvertently reference elements linked to the ancestors or imply familiarity too soon, you have crossed a line invisible to the untrained eye but glaringly obvious to those around you. You watch the change in their expression, the subtle stiffening of their posture, the faint downward flick of their eyes. The once welcoming smile retreats into a polite but cold bow. Around you, the atmosphere shifts palpably. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. You hear snippets of whispered warnings. Careful with your words, outsider, you insulted their family's honor. Your stomach knots. The weight of your blunder presses down on you harder than the layers of your own kimono. In feudal Japan, respect for one's ancestors isn't mere tradition, it's a sacred covenant binding the living to the dead. Ancestors are believed to protect the family's prosperity and social standing. To offend them through careless speech or disrespectful behavior is to risk bringing misfortune not only upon yourself but on the entire household. It's not just a social faux pas, it's a spiritual violation. Families take great care to preserve their honor and the goodwill of their ancestors, especially in public. You, a stranger, have unknowingly trampled across these invisible boundaries. The consequences ripple outward. The person you addressed might distance themselves, wary of association. Their family could regard you with suspicion or outright disdain. Neighbors and local leaders may judge your character by this one moment. Gossip in small villages is swift and unforgiving. Your misstep could shadow your reputation, marking you as disrespectful, ignorant, or worse, dishonorable. You attempt to apologize, but your words falter under the weight of the unspoken rules you have yet to learn. In this society, apologies themselves are delicate rituals, often requiring the right tone, posture, and choice of phrase to be accepted sincerely. Your foreign tongue and unfamiliar customs make your efforts seem clumsy, even insincere. As you retreat, cheeks burning with embarrassment and frustration, you grasp the enormity of what you've stumbled into. Romance here is not a game of spontaneous charm or bold advances. It is a layered ritual, where every gesture must be measured, every word carefully chosen, and where respect for history and family shapes the very language of love. If you wish to survive, and perhaps even thrive, in feudal Japan's social world, you will need to learn these lessons well. You must observe the rituals of courtship, master the subtle language of the kimono, and honor the invisible ties that bind the living to their ancestors. Failure to do so risks not just loneliness but social exile, loss of honor, and a permanent stain on your name. In this world, love is not merely about attraction or affection. It is a sacred ceremony, a fragile thread woven through generations, requiring patience, humility, and profound respect. One careless compliment, one misunderstood gesture, can unravel the delicate tapestry of relationships you seek to build. The ancestors watch, the community judges, and your every word echoes far beyond the moment it is spoken. Your rice tax is due and you don't even own a field. You wake before the first light of dawn, the cold seeping through the thin fabric of your kimono, the air sharp and unforgiving as winter's breath. Your hut is small and bare, a rough wooden frame covered in mud plaster, with a single straw mat for your family to share. Outside, the village stirs to life in whispers, the sounds of wooden clogs tapping on packed earth growing louder by the minute. Today is no ordinary day. Today, the tax collectors will arrive. Your heart pounds not from excitement, but from dread. Your rice tax is due, and as always, the amount demanded is staggering. You glance toward the fields, muddy and cold after the recent rains, but the bitter truth is that you don't own any of it. You are but a tenant farmer, working on land owned by the local lord, or perhaps by a wealthier samurai granted those fields as his domain. The rice that you and your family have painstakingly planted, weeded, and harvested, it's not yours. It belongs to them. Feudal Japan's economy is an unforgiving web of obligation and tribute, spun tightly by the daimyo, the powerful regional lords who control vast swaths of land and demand loyalty through rice taxes. Rice is not just a crop, it is the very lifeblood of society, currency, sustenance, and symbol of power. Without the rice tribute, the daimyo cannot fund his samurai armies, his castles, or his lavish lifestyle. The system depends on you, the peasant, yet it shows no mercy. The tax you owe, nengu, is calculated not on kindness but on strict, often brutal formulas. Even if a storm wiped out half your crop, or if a plague of locusts ravaged your fields, the tax remains. It is a fixed claim on your harvest, regardless of your suffering. This cruel certainty leaves you no room to breathe, no margin for error. The rice you owe will be taken, even if it means your family goes hungry. Soon the tax collectors arrive, faces hard and unyielding. They come bearing scales and baskets, tools for measuring and weighing the fruits of your labor. They speak little, their eyes cold as they tally your yield. You watch helplessly as your precious harvest is measured, the grains slipping away like sand through your fingers. You can feel the weight of each grain taken, not just in your hands, but deep in your soul. Because you do not own the land, your position is precarious. Your landlord may increase your rent arbitrarily or demand extra labor, corvée, in addition to your tax obligations. Should you fail to meet these demands, harsh punishments await. Tools that helped you work the soil might be confiscated, leaving you helpless. You could be forced from your home, sent out into the world with nothing but your clothes and the cold wind. Some whisper dark tales of peasants who resisted, only to be beaten, jailed, or even executed as warnings to others. The samurai are enforcers of this system, wielding power with sharp swords and sharper wills. They patrol the villages, collecting tribute and crushing dissent. Their presence is a constant reminder of your place in the hierarchy. Below them, without voice, bound to the land by unbreakable chains of duty. Around you, other villagers whisper in hushed tones. They share stories of past famines and revolts, of uprisings brutally put down by the Lord's forces. The memory of the Ikki revolts, peasant uprisings against oppressive rule, lingers as a warning. Survival requires obedience, not rebellion. Your survival depends on submission. You glance at your family, your elderly parents with stoic faces lined by years of hardship, your children's eyes wide with innocent hope. You know that the rice left after the tax will have to feed them all through the cold winter. The remaining grain will be cooked into watery porridge, barely enough to fill empty stomachs. Hunger is a familiar companion, gnawing quietly beneath the surface of daily life. Yet despite the hardship, there is a stubborn resilience among the peasants. You and your neighbors exchange advice on saving seed rice for the next planting, on how to eke out every last bit of nutrition from wild greens and roots. You whisper prayers to the ancestors and the kami, asking for protection and a kinder harvest next year. The cycle of toil and tribute is endless, but so is your will to endure. In feudal Japan, land ownership is a fortress guarded by privilege and bloodline, reserved for the samurai and wealthy elites. The peasants exist in the shadow of this system, their lives marked by hardship, obedience, and unrelenting toil. Your rice tax is a symbol of this harsh reality, a reminder that even the fruits of your labor belong not to you, but to those who hold power. As the tax collectors depart, heavy baskets in hand, you stand at the edge of your field, the weight of the day pressing on your shoulders. You vow silently to endure, to plant again, to survive another harvest, because in this world, survival is the greatest victory you can hope for. Why being a Ronin sounds cool until you're actually one. To hear the tales spun in smoky taverns or whispered by wandering storytellers, being a Ronin might sound like the ultimate expression of freedom, a samurai without a master, roaming the wilds of feudal Japan as a lone warrior, bound only by your own code and skill with the sword. The image is romantic, a solitary figure clad in tattered robes, katana gleaming in the moonlight, walking endless roads in search of purpose, justice, or adventure. You might imagine yourself as a free spirit, escaping the rigid, suffocating hierarchy of the samurai caste, crafting your own destiny with nothing but your honor and blade. But the truth is far grimmer. When your lord falls, whether by death, political disgrace, or the brutal outcome of battle, your world collapses with him. No longer part of a clan, no longer a respected samurai, you become a masterless warrior, a Ronin. In feudal Japan, where loyalty to your daimyo defined your identity and status, being without a master meant social death. You are suddenly an outcast, shunned not only by other samurai but often looked down upon by commoners who fear the instability your kind can bring. Without the protection of a powerful lord, you are exposed to the harsh realities of survival in a society that prizes order above all else. Your income, a stipend usually paid in rice or money by your lord, disappears overnight. The steady flow of provisions that once filled your household dries up. Your finely crafted armor, lacquered helmet, and katana, once symbols of prestige and honor, become liabilities. They require upkeep you can no longer afford, and they mark you as a samurai without a home, a target for suspicion or envy. Those weapons that once commanded respect now invite scrutiny, or worse, resentment from those who see you as a threat or a burden. You are left with few options. Some Ronin wander from village to village, hoping to find a new master willing to hire a skilled swordsman. Others turn to teaching martial arts to townsfolk, a humble fallback from the life they once dreamed of. Many take on menial, often dangerous work that would have been beneath their dignity as samurai, guarding caravans, acting as mercenaries, or even becoming bodyguards for wealthy merchants. This life is marked by relentless uncertainty. Your days are consumed by the search for sustenance and shelter rather than the pursuit of honor and mastery. The roads you travel are long and perilous. You endure blistering sun, pouring rain, and bitter cold nights under the stars. Bandits, rival Ronin, and local law enforcement are constant threats. Without a lord's army or a clan's banner to rally under, you walk alone, a lone wolf in a world that prefers the strength of packs. Hunger gnaws at your belly, exhaustion weighs down your limbs, and the silence of loneliness presses heavily on your mind. There is no cheering crowd to welcome you, no comrades to share your burdens, only the endless horizon and the ache of isolation. The code of Bushido, once a proud guide for your actions, becomes a painful reminder of what you have lost. Loyalty, courage, and honor, these virtues were meant to be lived within the structure of service to a lord. Now, without a master, you face scorn from your peers and are often accused of being dishonorable. Other samurai might sneer at your status, calling you a disgrace or a failure. Your reputation is tarnished by your homelessness, and the perception that you have abandoned your duties or been abandoned by fate. Your identity fractures. You are either a noble warrior nor a common man, but an exile between worlds. Desperation leads many Ronin down dark paths. Some become bandits or criminals, preying on the vulnerable to survive. Others sell their sword to the highest bidder, fighting for causes they do not believe in or betraying former allies to secure a few coins. Still others sink into despair, wandering aimlessly until their strength or will gives out. The romantic stories often highlight a few heroic Ronin who find redemption, justice, or vengeance, but these are the exceptions, not the rule. In truth, being a Ronin is a relentless struggle against hunger, cold, rejection, and the erosion of self. The freedom it promises is a cruel illusion. It is a freedom born of necessity and hardship, not choice. The loneliness is profound, the dangers constant, and the future uncertain. You learn that honor means little when you have no one to serve, and survival becomes the only goal. So while tales of the wandering samurai may fill your imagination with visions of thrilling adventures and fearless independence, the reality is a harsh life of endless walking, bitter solitude, and the crushing weight of a lost identity. Being a Ronin is not the heroic path you imagined. It is a daily battle just to keep going. You stumble into a no play and sit in the wrong spot. You find yourself wandering through a quiet, picturesque village in feudal Japan as twilight softly descends. The air is filled with the faint, haunting sounds of flutes and drums, an ancient melody that seems to carry stories from the distant past. Drawn by curiosity and a longing for distraction from the harsh realities of your daily life, you follow the sound to a modest open-air stage set up at the edge of the village square. A troupe of actors is preparing to perform a no play, a highly refined, centuries-old theatrical tradition steeped in symbolism, ritual, and aristocratic culture. At first, you marvel at the spectacle. The performers wear elaborately crafted masks, their faces frozen in enigmatic expressions. Their movements are slow, deliberate, and fluid, each gesture loaded with meaning, rehearsed over decades of tradition. The music is minimal yet deeply evocative, the rhythmic drum beats and melancholic flute weaving an atmosphere thick with solemnity and mystery. The chanting voices rise and fall in an eerie cadence that seems to transport the audience beyond the mundane world into realms of gods, spirits, and long-dead heroes. As the crowd gathers, you notice the seating isn't like anything you've ever experienced. This isn't a casual village gathering where everyone can sit wherever they like. The seats are arranged with rigid order, strictly dictated by social rank and status. The daimyo, powerful feudal lords, and their closest samurai retainers occupy the front rows, their seats carefully preserved and guarded by attendants. Merchants and lower-ranking warriors sit behind them. Common folk like yourself are expected to remain even further back, sometimes standing or sitting on the bare ground, watching respectfully from a distance. Unaware of these complex social protocols, you approach the seating area and find what appears to be a convenient spot, a cushion near the front, just beside a cluster of samurai in fine armor. Without hesitation, you settle down, thinking only of seeing the play more clearly. Almost immediately, the mood in the audience shifts. A low murmur runs through the crowd. The samurai nearby glance at you with a mixture of shock and disdain. One of the daimyo's retainers leans over, casting a sharp look that you barely catch, signaling that you've made a grave mistake. In feudal Japan, social hierarchy governs every aspect of life, and nowhere is this more evident than at cultural events like a no play. The seating arrangement is a visual representation of power and respect, a language everyone understands and abides by without question. To sit out of turn, especially among the elite, is not merely rude. It is considered a challenge to the social order, a breach of decorum that could bring dishonor or worse consequences. Your error, though unintentional, marks you as ignorant at best, insolent or rebellious at worst. You realize the gravity of your mistake as the stewards discreetly approach, suggesting you move to a more appropriate place. The pressure of dozens of watchful eyes feels suffocating. You scramble to your feet and retreat toward the back of the crowd, your cheeks burning with embarrassment. The play continues, its rhythm slow and hypnotic, but the weight of your social blunder hangs heavily in the air. The actors remain calm and composed on stage, their performance unaffected by the commotion. But for you, the experience has become a harsh lesson in the rigidity of feudal Japanese society. The No play itself, with its intricate symbolism and deliberate pacing, mirrors the larger world you inhabit, one where every movement, every gesture, and every position is governed by centuries of custom and hierarchy. One false step socially can be as damaging as a poorly timed strike in battle. As the play progresses, you reflect on the delicate dance of social interactions here. Every bow, every nod, every seat is charged with meaning, and understanding these nuances is crucial to survival. The slow unfolding of the no drama contrasts with the swift judgment you face for a simple seating mistake. You grasp that in this world, where respect and honor dictate your fate, ignorance can quickly lead to isolation or disgrace. Eventually, the play ends, and the crowd disperses, leaving you with a lingering sense of humility and caution. You now carry a deeper awareness that living in feudal Japan requires mastering not only the sword but also the intricate, invisible rules that govern society. Even a moment's lapse in understanding can have consequences far beyond what you might expect. The monks invite you to meditate, and you're not allowed to blink. You have been wandering near a serene temple nestled in the mountains, a place of quiet mystery where the air smells faintly of incense and ancient wood. The temple grounds are peaceful, almost otherworldly, the sort of place where time seems to slow and the usual worries of the world fall away. As you approach, a group of monks dressed in simple robes notices you. Their calm presence and steady eyes hold an invitation, a chance to join them in meditation. Eager for a moment of respite from the relentless pace and harsh realities of feudal Japan, you accept. But what you don't realize is that this invitation will test your endurance, your patience, and your ability to still both body and mind. You are led to a quiet room where the floor is covered in woven mats, the walls adorned with minimalist scrolls depicting Zen teachings. The monks seat you among them, instructing you to sit cross-legged, to hold your back straight, and most importantly, to remain perfectly still. You quickly learn that in this practice, even the slightest movement or blink is discouraged, a testament to the discipline and focus required. The initial moments feel peaceful. Your breathing slows as you attempt to empty your mind and simply be present. But soon, reality sets in. Your legs begin to ache, pins and needles creeping through your calves and feet as blood flow diminishes. Your body begs for relief, a stretch, a shift, even just a small scratch, but you know these are forbidden. Your eyes, forced to remain open, grow heavy. The urge to blink becomes overwhelming, like a slow-burning fire behind your eyelids. Each second stretches interminably, your mind wavering between calm focus and desperate distraction. The silence around you amplifies every sensation, the subtle creak of the wooden floor, the faint rustle of robes, your own heartbeat pounding in your ears. Time loses meaning. Minutes feel like hours. Your muscles tremble as you fight to maintain perfect stillness, not just out of obedience but because you understand this practice is a path to mastering yourself, to confronting your own restlessness, desires, and fears. The monks seem to float effortlessly in this silent space, their faces serene and composed, as if they have unlocked a secret you're only beginning to glimpse. You start to grasp why meditation is revered here, not as an escape, but as a form of inner strength. It demands courage to face discomfort without flinching, to sit with silence and your own thoughts without fleeing. Yet, despite your best efforts, your body betrays you. A sudden twitch, a swallowed blink, a tiny rebellion that sends a quiet reprimand from the monk nearest you. Embarrassment flushes your cheeks, but you also feel a strange pride. You have touched a sliver of the discipline that shapes these monks' lives, a discipline that contrasts sharply with the chaos and violence of the outside world. In feudal Japan, such control over body and mind is not merely spiritual, it is essential for survival, clarity, and honor. When the meditation finally ends, you stand slowly, your legs numb but your spirit strangely lightened. The monks offer a gentle bow, acknowledging your effort and endurance. You leave the temple grounds changed, no longer just a wanderer, but someone who has briefly glimpsed the quiet power of stillness. You get lost in a castle and accidentally enter the women's quarters. The sprawling wooden fortress looms around you, its labyrinthine corridors twisting and turning like the roots of an ancient tree. The air inside is thick with a mix of polished wood, incense, and the faint lingering aroma of tea and perfume. Soft light filters through paper shoji screens, casting delicate shadows on the tatami mats beneath your feet. Every step you take echoes in the silence, magnifying your growing unease as you realize you've lost your way. The castle is not merely a building but a complex world, carefully designed to separate classes, sexes, and duties. You thought you were following the right path toward the main hall where the Lord holds court, but the endless corridors confuse you. The ancient blueprints of this fortress were made not only for defense but also to protect secrets. Some rooms are forbidden to most, some paths lead only to trusted retainers. Unknowingly, you push aside a sliding fusuma door and step into a realm starkly different from the rest of the castle, the women's quarters, the oku. This hidden enclave is reserved exclusively for the Lord's wife, his concubines, and their attendants, a place wrapped in layers of privacy and protection. The walls here are adorned with exquisite hand-painted silk screens depicting cherry blossoms and cranes, symbols of beauty and longevity. Delicate lacquered furniture, silk cushions, and carefully arranged ikebana flowers create an atmosphere of refined grace and tranquility. Yet beneath this elegance lies an unyielding fortress of social rules and honor. Your presence here is an intrusion of the gravest kind. The few women who notice you freeze, their eyes wide with alarm. Some clutch their sleeves to their mouths, others whisper urgently among themselves, and one older servant steps forward, her expression a mixture of confusion and dread. To enter this sacred space without permission is more than a social faux pas. It is a direct violation of the household's honor. In feudal Japan, such a misstep is dangerous. Honor governs all. A stain upon it can spiral into exile, disgrace, or death. Before you can react, the sharp sound of footsteps approaches. Two imposing samurai guards emerge from the shadows, their faces set in stone. Their armor glints dully in the muted light, and their swords hang ready at their sides. They seize you firmly by the arm, their grip a silent warning. You try to explain, voice trembling, that you are lost, that you meant no harm, but your words fall on ears trained only to judge actions, not excuses. You are brought before the castle lord himself, a man whose presence fills the room with an aura of command and intimidation. His piercing gaze locks onto you, and for a moment, you feel as though every secret fear you hold is laid bare. He listens in cold silence as you stumble through your explanation, but his expression reveals nothing. In this world, mercy is a luxury rarely granted to those who disrupt the fragile social fabric. You understand now how deeply your mistake cuts. The women's quarters represent not just physical space but the honor and sanctity of the Lord's family. Your accidental trespass threatens to bring shame upon them, a shadow cast that cannot easily be lifted. The delicate balance of power, respect, and social order hangs by a thread, and your presence here has pulled at that thread dangerously. The Lord's decision is swift but merciful. You will be detained under guard for further questioning, a humiliation that marks you as an outsider and a cautionary example to others who might disregard the unspoken rules. Your freedom is suspended. Your reputation, already fragile, now carries the stain of impropriety. The echoes of whispered gossip will follow you long after your release, making every future interaction a delicate dance of suspicion and caution. As you sit alone in a dark, narrow chamber beneath the castle, the sounds of the household life above, the laughter of women, the clang of swords, the murmur of servants, remind you how close you came to disaster. This moment will haunt you, a vivid reminder that in feudal Japan, ignorance is not innocence. Here, every step, every word, every glance must be measured against centuries of tradition and unyielding social codes. You leave this ordeal wiser, your respect for the rigid rules of honor deepened. The castle is not just a fortress of stone and wood, it is a living testament to a world where a simple mistake could cost you everything. And for a lowly outsider like you, navigating this intricate maze of power and protocol is a challenge far greater than any physical battle. You witness a seppuku ceremony and immediately lose your appetite. In the rigid and unforgiving world of feudal Japan, honor is a force as real and powerful as the sharpest katana. It governs life and death alike, dictating the code by which samurai live, fight, and ultimately die. You had heard whispers of the ritual called seppuku, a solemn, terrifying act of self-disembowelment performed to restore honor lost by failure or disgrace. But nothing prepared you for the reality of witnessing it firsthand. You find yourself standing within the austere walls of a samurai lord's estate, the tatami mats beneath your feet clean and cool, the air thick with tense silence. The room is carefully prepared, paper screens folded back, ink paintings depicting dragons and cherry blossoms hanging with reverence, and a low wooden table with an ornate dagger resting upon it. The samurai who will perform the act sits quietly, his face a mask of solemn dignity, clad in ceremonial robes. Around him are retainers, friends, and priests, all gathered to witness this final and sacred act. The atmosphere is heavy with a mixture of reverence, dread, and an unspoken understanding that this is no ordinary death. The samurai kneels, straightening his back and gripping the dagger tightly, eyes fixed on the horizon beyond the sliding doors. The ceremony begins with prayers and the chanting of sutras, voices low and rhythmic, echoing through the room like an ancient lament. You try to steel yourself, to maintain your composure, but as the moment unfolds, the horrific reality crashes upon you. The samurai draws the dagger with deliberate grace, the blade catching the faint light. His breath steadies. The room holds its collective breath. Then, with a sudden, chilling movement, he plunges the blade into his abdomen. The sound is sickening, wet, sharp, final. The samurai's face contorts with pain, yet he holds his posture, eyes unwavering. One of his attendants, standing by with a short sword, waits patiently, ready to perform the kaishakunin's duty, to end the samurai's suffering with a precise, merciful stroke to the neck. The ritual is as much about preserving dignity as it is about death itself. Your stomach twists violently. The grisly sight is far removed from any tale or legend you've ever heard. Your mouth dries, your breath catches. The taste of everything you've eaten lately turns sour, and suddenly the comforting warmth of a meal feels revolting and impossible. Honor here is entwined with horror, and the weight of this brutal ceremony presses down on you like a heavy stone. You realize that in this culture, death is not merely an end but a profound statement, a final act of responsibility, shame, and redemption. The samurai chooses death over dishonor, commanding respect even in the face of agony. Yet for you, an outsider unfamiliar with such rituals, it is a shocking lesson in the extremes of human pride and pain. As the ceremony concludes, the room exhales as one, a mix of mourning, relief, and silent respect. The samurai's life is extinguished, his honor restored. But you are left grappling with your own emotions, awe, confusion, revulsion, and a profound empathy you hadn't expected. You vowed to carry this memory as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that in feudal Japan, honor could be as deadly as any sword. And for the rest of the day, your appetite remains lost, the vivid scene haunting every attempt to find comfort in food or drink. The ritual has left an indelible mark, a brutal window into a world where the line between dignity and death is razor thin. You're recruited for night watch and immediately fall asleep. The moment the sun sinks below the jagged silhouette of distant mountains, a peculiar stillness settles over the castle grounds. The once bustling corridors and courtyards, alive with the chatter of servants and the clatter of armor, fall silent under a deepening blanket of twilight. The moon, pale and watchful, casts a fragile silver light through the lattice windows and cracks in the wooden walls. A chill creeps through the air, sharper and colder than you imagined, seeping into your thin garments like a creeping frost. You have been conscripted, or rather ordered, to stand guard through the long night, part of the castle's ever-vigilant night watch. It's a duty that commands respect in this world ruled by honor and vigilance, but for someone unaccustomed to the rigor of samurai discipline and the harshness of feudal life, it is a cruel test. The other samurai and retainers move with silent precision, their footsteps barely audible over the rustle of night creatures and the distant song of crickets. Their breaths form small clouds in the frigid air, and their eyes gleam with the hard light of experience and alertness. You try your best to stay awake, pacing back and forth on the wooden walkways above the stone foundation, your hands clenched tightly around the hilt of a wooden training sword. The cold bites at your exposed neck and wrists. Each gust of wind sneaks through gaps in the walls and around the eaves, carrying whispers of autumn leaves and distant forests. Your body shivers involuntarily, muscles stiffening as your warmth slowly drains away. The night watch is not merely about standing guard. It is a ritual of discipline and endurance. The samurai have trained their minds and bodies to resist exhaustion, to remain unflinching under threat. You, however, are new to this life. Your muscles ache, your eyes grow heavy, and the monotony gnaws at your resolve. You try counting prayers, reciting ancient phrases learned from overheard conversations, but the cold and fatigue conspire to pull you down. Minutes stretch into hours. The air seems to thicken, the darkness grows deeper, and the distant rustling of bushes and the occasional hoot of an owl become haunting sounds rather than comforting background noise. Your eyelids flutter like fragile curtains in a breeze, and your breath comes in shallow, uneven gasps. The hardwood beneath your feet begins to feel like a cradle, and the chilled air numbs your fingers and toes. Before you realize what's happening, your knees buckle. The steady rhythm of your patrol dissolves into a staggering, then a collapse. Your body sags against the cold wooden beam, your head tilting forward as you drift into a light, restless sleep, the worst possible failure in this world of relentless discipline. The sharp slap of a gauntlet hand against your shoulder jerks you awake. The samurai standing beside you is a mountain of silent fury, his eyes cold and accusing beneath his helmet. The night's silence fractures with a stern whisper, reminding you that in this role, vigilance is life itself. To fall asleep on watch is to invite disaster. Enemies could approach undetected, fires could spread, assassins could slip through shadows. You feel a rush of shame hot enough to burn away the cold. Your face flushes as the weight of your failure settles on your shoulders like a heavy cloak. The samurai commander does not shout, but his disapproval is as sharp as any sword's edge. You are ordered to redouble your efforts, to prove your worth through relentless attention and stamina. There is no room for weakness in the castle's defenses. For the rest of the long night, you struggle against the torment of fatigue and the biting cold. Your body aches, your head throbs. But you force yourself to keep moving, eyes flickering like lantern flames, muscles trembling with effort. Every creak of the building, every whisper of wind becomes a test. Can you hold your ground? Can you stand steadfast as your comrades do? Dawn creeps over the horizon, painting the sky with soft hues of pink and gold. The castle slowly wakes, and with it, your relief floods in like warm tea. The night watch is over, but the lesson remains etched into your very bones. Discipline is not just about following orders, it is a crucible that forges the soul of a samurai. Weakness can cost lives, and the cold night waits mercilessly for any who falter. As you lower yourself onto the floor to rest, your thoughts churn with guilt and resolve. You are new to this harsh world, but you will learn. You will endure. Because in feudal Japan, survival depends not just on sword skill, but on the iron will to face the cold, the dark, and your own limits. You try to cook your own fish and start a small fire. After a long day of backbreaking labor, your hands aching from planting rice or hauling heavy bundles, hunger gnaws deep in your belly like a relentless beast. You clutch the small fish you caught from the cold, clear river earlier that morning, the prize of your uncertain efforts. To eat it raw would be unthinkable. The bitterness of raw fish or the risk of parasites is a lesson you've heard whispered but are all too aware of. So, you decide to cook it yourself. After all, how hard can it be? You've watched the village elders do it many times, but now it's your turn, your first real test of survival skills beyond mere endurance. You gather dry twigs, brittle leaves, and bits of bark, stacking them in a loose pile beside a clearing just outside the village. Your fingers, still stiff and sore, fumble nervously as you try to arrange the kindling in a traditional teepee shape. The wind is fickle, shifting unpredictably, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke from distant hearths and the dampness of the approaching evening. You strike the flint and steel repeatedly, sparks flying briefly before disappearing. Each attempt draws a dry cough as the smoke stings your eyes and nostrils, but eventually, a tiny flame flickers and begins to grow. You exhale in relief, heart pounding with a mix of triumph and exhaustion. But the fire is temperamental, more alive than you expected. It crackles, snaps, and spits hot embers into the air, some landing on the dry grass at the edge of the clearing. Panic flares in your chest. You try to remain calm, but your inexperience betrays you. The flames jump higher, licking hungrily at the brittle leaves and twigs beyond your pile. You scramble to beat them down with a leafy branch, hands trembling as the fire threatens to spread. For a terrifying moment, you imagine the entire village going up in flames because of your carelessness. After a frantic struggle, the fire is finally subdued, reduced to a manageable blaze with glowing embers perfect for cooking. But the lesson has already burned itself into your mind. Here, every mistake can have grave consequences. Next comes the fish. Your knife, dull and uneven, struggles to scale the slippery skin and gut the creature. Scales scatter, glittering like tiny shards of glass in the firelight, and blood pools on the dirt floor beneath you. You work slowly, mindful of the sharp blade and the urgency of hunger, but frustration builds as the fish slips and squirms in your unsteady hands. When the fish is finally ready, you skewer it on a sharpened stick, crude but functional, and hold it over the fire's glowing coals. The smell of smoke mingles with the fresh scent of the river fish, a bittersweet perfume that raises your hopes. But the fire's uneven heat is unforgiving. One side of the fish chars black, crispy and bitter, while the other remains raw and slimy. You turn it again and again, trying to balance patience with haste, but the results are disappointing. You take a bite. The charred skin flakes off in your mouth, bitter and acrid. The flesh beneath is tough and dry, difficult to chew. The taste of smoke overwhelms the delicate flavors you had imagined. Your stomach grumbles, still hungry, but your pride aches more. As you sit by the dying embers, the cold night air wrapping around you like a rough cloak, you reflect on what this small failure teaches. In feudal Japan, survival is an art, and every skill, from tending fire to preparing food, requires respect, patience, and years of practice. Carelessness can lead not just to hunger, but disaster. A stray spark could ignite entire homes built from wood and paper. Careless food preparation could bring illness in a time without medicine. You remember the village elders, moving with practiced ease, never rushing, their hands sure and steady. Their quiet competence is born of discipline and humility, qualities you realize you must cultivate if you hope to survive here. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, and this evening's hard lesson will not be forgotten. You vow silently to watch closely, learn eagerly, and practice diligently. Because in this harsh, unforgiving world, survival is the greatest honor, and every meal is a battle won or lost. You offend a geisha by complimenting her shoes. In the delicate world of feudal Japan's upper class, appearances are everything, and subtlety in speech and gesture can mean the difference between honor and disgrace. One afternoon, wandering through the refined alleys of a bustling town, you catch sight of a figure moving with graceful, practiced elegance. A geisha, the epitome of artistry and cultural refinement. Her presence is mesmerizing, her white painted face framed by carefully arranged black hair, her kimono shimmering in rich silk patterns, and her delicate wooden sandals, okobos, clicking softly against the stone path. Eager to make a good impression and not fully understanding the deep customs at play, you decide to compliment her shoes. After all, they look unusual and intricate, tall, lacquered, and seemingly fragile, like miniature works of art. "Your shoes are so beautiful," you say, your voice filled with sincere admiration, hoping to win a smile or perhaps a gentle laugh. But instead of gratitude, you are met with a chill, polite silence. The geisha's eyes narrow slightly, and a subtle tension fills the air. Unaware of the cultural faux pas you've committed, you watch as her delicate lips press into a thin line. You might think that shoes are an innocent enough compliment, but in this world, every word is weighted, every gesture loaded with history and meaning. Geisha shoes, the okobo, are more than mere footwear. Their height and design symbolize status, the wearer's dedication to her art, and her role within a strict social hierarchy. Complimenting such a personal and carefully guarded element can be taken as an intrusion or an insinuation about the wearer's status or intentions. Worse still, in your clumsy delivery, it sounds as if you are remarking on something trivial, undermining the delicate balance of respect that governs their interactions with others. Whispers ripple through the nearby crowd. Townsfolk exchange glances, and you feel the weight of their disapproval pressing down like a heavy shoji screen. You quickly realize that this simple compliment has inadvertently insulted not only the geisha but also the rigid social codes she embodies. What you thought would be a charming icebreaker has instead opened a gulf of misunderstanding. Your heart races with embarrassment and fear. In this society, where honor is a fragile yet fiercely protected treasure, offending a figure like a geisha can lead to lasting social stigma. You scramble to recover, searching your limited knowledge for a way to apologize or explain, but the precise words elude you like mist on a temple garden pond. The geisha turns away gracefully, her steps measured but distant, leaving you standing awkwardly in the street. The lesson is harsh but clear. In feudal Japan, cultural finesse and the understanding of subtle social cues are not optional. They are survival skills. A misplaced word or gesture can ripple outward, damaging reputations and burning bridges in a world where relationships are everything. As you walk away, cheeks burning with shame, you vow to observe more closely, listen more carefully, and approach the delicate dance of courtly manners with humility and respect. Because here, in this refined but unforgiving world, the the path to acceptance is paved with patience, learning, and sometimes painful mistakes. You visit a shrine and forget to wash your hands. You step through the towering torii gate, its vermilion wood glowing softly under the pale sunlight filtering through the swaying maple trees. The air here is thick with the scent of incense, aged cedar, and the faint, earthy aroma of moss-covered stones. Before you stretches the shrine's grounds, an island of quiet reverence amid the bustling village life. You came here to offer a prayer, to seek favor or protection in this mysterious, spiritual world of feudal Japan. But what you don't realize is that this sacred space is governed by centuries of ritual and an unwavering respect for purity that demands complete attentiveness. As you approach the Temazuya, the water pavilion dedicated to cleansing, you hesitate for a moment. The wooden ladles rest on the stone basin filled with clear, flowing water. The ritual is simple in appearance. Wash your hands and rinse your mouth before entering the shrine to purify yourself from the impurities of the outside world. But for a foreigner like you, steeped in different customs, it's easy to overlook the significance of such an act. Caught up in the quiet majesty of the shrine and eager to proceed to the main hall, you forget this crucial step entirely. You step forward, bowing your head respectfully before the honden, the sacred inner sanctum where the kami, or spirits, are said to reside. You clasp your hands together, close your eyes, and begin a silent prayer, unaware that your hands still carry the dust and grime of the outside world. Suddenly, a sharp voice cuts through the tranquility. You turn to see the head priest, his robes immaculate and embroidered with ancient symbols, standing at the edge of the courtyard. His eyes, narrow and piercing, lock onto your unwashed hands, and his lips press into a disapproving line. With a slight but unmistakable shake of his head, he gestures sharply toward the water basin. The shame floods your face as the enormity of your mistake sinks in. In this culture, purity is not just a formality, it is the very essence of worship, the physical and spiritual preparation needed to approach the divine. To neglect the cleansing ritual is to bring impurity into the presence of the sacred, a disrespect that could offend the kami themselves. The priest steps closer, his voice low but firm as he explains the importance of the Temazu ritual. Each movement, lifting the ladle with your right hand, pouring water over your left hand, switching hands, rinsing your mouth carefully without swallowing, is an act of humility and respect, cleansing not only the body but also the spirit. It is a sacred dance, passed down through generations, binding the living to the divine order of the world. As you perform the ritual under his watchful gaze, you feel the weight of centuries pressing down on you, a reminder that in feudal Japan, even the smallest misstep in tradition can lead to serious social disapproval. The priest's stern expression softens only slightly as you finish, and you bow deeply, gratitude and embarrassment mingling in your heart. This experience leaves you humbled and more aware of the intricate web of customs that govern life in this ancient land. Here, respect is shown not only in grand gestures but also in the quiet, deliberate acts that connect you to something far greater than yourself. You walk away from the shrine with clean hands and a heavier understanding, knowing that survival here means not just physical endurance but also a deep reverence for the invisible threads of tradition and spirituality that hold this society together. You visit a shrine and forget to wash your hands. You approach the entrance to the Shinto shrine, stepping beneath the towering vermilion torii gate that marks the boundary between the mundane world and the sacred. The air is cool and fragrant with the subtle scent of incense and moss-covered wood. Soft birdsong mingles with the rustle of maple leaves, creating a serene atmosphere that immediately commands reverence. Around you, villagers move quietly, some bowing their heads in silent prayer, others moving through the space with practiced grace. This is a place where the spiritual and physical worlds intertwine, and every gesture carries meaning. Before entering the main shrine, your eyes fall upon the Temazuya, the purification pavilion, a stone basin filled with clear, flowing water and wooden ladles resting neatly on its edge. The ritual here is straightforward yet sacred. Visitors cleanse their hands and rinse their mouths to purify themselves, symbolically washing away the impurities and distractions of the outside world before approaching the divine. Yet, as you gaze at the basin, your mind drifts, overwhelmed by the unfamiliar surroundings and the gravity of this new world. You tell yourself you will perform the ritual later, eager to hurry inside and offer your prayers. With this mistake, you cross the threshold into the shrine grounds without the cleansing that is not merely custom but a spiritual necessity. You walk toward the Handen, the innermost sanctuary, where the kami are believed to dwell. Your hands, still carrying the dust of the road and the grime of your daily labor, are folded respectfully in prayer as you kneel and bow. You close your eyes and murmur your wishes silently, hoping for protection, health, or fortune in this foreign land. Suddenly, the peaceful stillness is broken by the sharp, disapproving voice of the head priest. He emerges from a nearby structure, his robes pristine and embroidered with ancient motifs that speak of centuries-old tradition. His gaze falls directly on your unwashed hands, and with a subtle but unmistakable gesture, he motions toward the temazuya. A flush of embarrassment and shame creeps over you. In this culture, purity is not simply cleanliness, it is a sacred act of respect and readiness. The omission of the hand-washing ritual is considered a serious breach of etiquette, an affront not only to the shrine but to the kami themselves. This oversight signals ignorance or disrespect, either of which will be forgiven lightly in a society where honor and tradition reign supreme. The priest approaches, his expression stern but not unkind, and explains the importance of the ritual. With precise instructions, he guides you through the steps. Pick up the ladle with your right hand, pour water over your left hand, switch hands and pour water over your right. Transfer the ladle to your left hand and rinse your mouth, spitting the water discreetly beside the basin, not back into it, before finally washing your left hand once more. Each movement is deliberate, embodying humility, purification, and respect. You follow his guidance, feeling the cool water run over your skin, washing away not just physical dirt but also your ignorance. As you perform the ritual, you realize this is not a mere custom but a profound symbol of entering a sacred space with a cleansed heart and mind, acknowledging the invisible presence of the divine. Finishing the ritual, you bow deeply to the priest, gratitude and humility weighing heavily on your spirit. Around you, the villagers continue their own prayers, their calm reverence a stark contrast to your earlier nervousness. You understand now that survival in feudal Japan is not just about physical endurance or strength, but about understanding and respecting the intricate web of rituals, symbols, and traditions that bind this society together. As you walk away from the shrine, your hands clean and your heart humbled, you carry with you a new awareness. In this ancient land, honor and respect are shown not only through grand gestures but through the smallest acts, such as washing your hands before a prayer. And forgetting them can mean more than embarrassment. It can mean social exile in a world where every step is watched and judged. Your katana is rusty and so are your reflexes. The morning mist clings to the wooden beams of the dojo, and the faint chill of dawn seeps into your bones as you grip the worn hilt of your katana. This blade, your soul, your honor, your weapon, is supposed to be an extension of your very being, a symbol of discipline and deadly grace. But as you peer down its length, the dull sheen of rust mars the once gleaming steel, and your hands tremble just slightly as you prepare to practice. The reality hits you hard. Your sword is neglected, much like your own reflexes and readiness in this unforgiving world of feudal Japan. In this era, a samurai's katana is far more than a mere weapon. It embodies centuries of tradition, the warrior's spirit, and a sacred code known as bushido. It is said that the blade chooses the warrior, binding their fates together. To let your katana fall into disrepair is not only a practical failure but a symbolic disgrace. It whispers to those who see it that you have lost your way, that your focus has slipped, and that your honor may be at risk. You remember the last time you held this sword with confidence, years ago, perhaps, in a different life. But now, the rust has crept beneath the lacquer, tiny pits roughen the steel, and the edge, once razor sharp, feels blunt and unreliable. Each swing feels sluggish, each parry uncertain. Your muscles ache in places you didn't know existed, and your reflexes seem to betray you just when you need them most. The sensei watches silently from the corner of the room, his eyes sharp and unforgiving. His patience wears thin. His silence louder than any criticism. A samurai must care for his sword as he does for his honor, he finally intones, voice low and grave. Neglect one, and you lose both. The weight of his words settles heavily on you, a reminder that in this brutal world, failure is not just personal, it is public, and it can mean death. You attempt a few basic strikes, but your body feels clumsy, your movements stiff and uncoordinated. The sword feels heavier than it should, as if the rust saps its strength. Your mind races to recall the drills and forms you once mastered, but your timing is off. You stumble, and the katana's edge scrapes awkwardly against the wooden floor. Frustration bubbles up, but you swallow it hard. There is no room for weakness here. Outside the dojo, the sounds of feudal Japan, clanking armor, the chatter of villagers, the distant bark of a hunting dog, serve as a reminder that the world beyond demands excellence and readiness. You are not the only one struggling to survive, and the slightest hesitation could cost you your life. The katana is more than a weapon, it is your identity and your protection. To fail at wielding it is to fail at living. You know that the road to redemption lies in relentless practice, in hours spent sharpening both steel and spirit. The rituals of sword care, oiling the blade, carefully polishing every inch, inspecting for flaws, must become as sacred as your morning prayers. The discipline required to maintain your weapon mirrors the discipline needed to maintain your mind and body. As the sun rises higher, casting long shadows through the paper walls, you resolve to reclaim your honor. With each stroke, each careful movement, you push back against the rust, not just on your katana, but inside yourself. This is not merely about survival. It is about becoming the warrior you were meant to be in this harsh and unforgiving world. The path will be long and arduous, but with persistence, your sword will once again sing in your hands, and so will your reflexes. You try to write a haiku and accidentally start a duel. In feudal Japan, words are sharp as swords. Poetry isn't just art, it's a test of wit, respect, and social standing. So when you decide to compose your very first haiku, hoping to impress a local samurai lord and perhaps earn some favor, you're stepping into a delicate dance of language and honor. But with your unfamiliarity and nervousness, what starts as a simple act of expression soon spirals into an unexpected battle. One fought not with steel, but with words and bruised pride. The scene is a small tea garden tucked behind a noble's residence, where fragrant blossoms hang heavy and the soft murmur of a koi pond soothes the air. You sit cross-legged on a woven mat, clutching a brush and a piece of rice paper, while a circle of onlookers, seasoned poets, samurai, and courtiers, gather. The Lord himself watches with a faint smile, curious about this foreigner's attempt to capture the ephemeral beauty of nature in just 17 syllables. You try to calm your racing heart and remember the basic structure: 5 syllables, then 7, then 5 again. Simple, right? But syllables in Japanese are tricky, and your grasp of the language is shaky at best. The first line comes out awkward and forced. The second, clumsy and nonsensical. The third, well, it barely fits the rhythm. The room falls silent. Then, a cold chuckle. A stoic samurai rises, his eyes narrowing. Your words dishonor the art, he declares, voice sharp as a blade. To butcher the sacred haiku is to insult our culture and our ancestors. His challenge is clear. Your failure to master the syllables isn't just a mistake. It's a slight to his pride and the noble house. You realize too late that poetry here is more than mere words. It is a matter of honor and respect, as binding as any warrior's oath. The samurai steps forward, hand on his katana, signaling a duel, not just of words, but potentially of lives. The crowd murmurs, eyes flickering between you and your challenger. To refuse would bring disgrace. To accept might mean death. Sweat beads on your forehead as you struggle to maintain composure. Your knowledge of combat is minimal, and your clumsy poetry has already marked you as an outsider, vulnerable and inexperienced. The samurai's stance is perfect, his blade gleaming in the filtered sunlight. You grip your own sword tightly, heart pounding. Yet, as you prepare to face this test, a voice from the Lord interrupts. Hold, he commands. This is a test of character, not just skill. Perhaps the foreigner's heart is willing, if his tongue falters. The samurai hesitates, tension easing slightly, but the threat lingers. In the end, you learn that in feudal Japan, words and actions are intertwined. A poorly composed poem can wound pride as deeply as a sword stroke. Poetry is an extension of self, a reflection of discipline, respect, and cultural understanding. This encounter leaves you humbled and wary, knowing that here, even your syllables carry weighty consequences. You leave the tea garden with a new respect for the power of words, vowing to study harder, not only to survive, but to truly honor the complex world you now inhabit. You're challenged to a game of go and don't know the rules. You find yourself in a quiet tea house nestled in a narrow alley of the bustling feudal town. The room is simple but elegant. Sliding shoji screens diffuse soft sunlight, casting delicate patterns on the tatami mats beneath your feet. At the center sits an aged wooden board with a grid of 19 by 19 lines, upon which smooth black and white stones await their turn. This is the battlefield of Go, a game revered not just for its strategy but for its embodiment of patience, wisdom, and balance, values that pulse at the very heart of samurai culture. A local samurai, amused by your foreignness and eager to test you, challenges you to a game. Accepting seems courteous. After all, refusing might be seen as a sign of weakness or ignorance. What you don't realize is how quickly your unfamiliarity with the game will expose you to humiliation, and how the silence around the board will grow thick with judgment. The game begins with a silent nod, both of you placing your stones carefully on the grid. Your opponent's moves are deliberate, thoughtful, like a general planning a battle. You, on the other hand, stare blankly at the board, unsure of the objective or the rules. Should you focus on capturing stones, controlling territory, or simply blocking? The samurai's gaze is steady, unreadable, as he watches your fumbling attempts. The onlookers grow quiet, sensing the imbalance. In the culture around you, Go is far more than a pastime. It is a sacred ritual of strategy and patience, a metaphor for life's complexity and the interplay of forces beyond immediate control. Every stone placed carries meaning, every move a subtle statement of intention and honor. Your ignorance, painfully obvious, echoes loudly in this silent room. After only 2 moves, your opponent executes a sequence so elegant and devastating that your stones are surrounded and captured. The game ends abruptly. Your defeat is swift and humiliating, a novice beaten before the game has barely begun. The room remains silent except for the faint clack of stones settling on the board. You lower your eyes, feeling the weight of embarrassment settle deep into your chest. This is no ordinary game. It is a test of intellect, patience, and respect for tradition. Your failure isn't just personal. It is a public spectacle, marking you as an outsider who has yet to understand the nuanced culture around you. The samurai offers you a small, almost imperceptible nod, a gesture both acknowledging your attempt and warning of the long road ahead if you wish to survive and gain respect in this world. He then gently explains some of the basic principles of Go, reminding you that even the most skilled players were once beginners who learned by observing and enduring defeat. As you leave the tea house, the cool breeze carries the echo of the silent game, a reminder that in feudal Japan, knowledge is power, and humility is the first step toward mastery. You realize that survival here depends not only on strength but on the ability to listen, learn, and adapt, qualities you must cultivate if you ever hope to belong. You get sick and the doctor prescribes leeches. The aches start as a dull throb in your head, spreading quickly through your limbs until every joint feels heavy, your skin clammy and cold. The villagers whisper of illnesses brought by the changing seasons, and you, a foreigner in feudal Japan, feel the fragile thread of your health unraveling. You decide to seek help, and soon find yourself before the door of the local Ishi, a traditional healer whose reputation precedes him. This is not a place of bright light and sterile instruments but of dim candles, shelves lined with strange herbs, dried roots, and animal parts, and the scent of incense lingering thickly in the air. The doctor listens to your symptoms with a calm, practiced gaze. He nods knowingly and explains that your illness is caused by an imbalance in the body's vital energies, or qi. According to centuries-old beliefs rooted in Chinese medicine, illness occurs when the body's natural flow is disrupted, and to restore harmony, the doctor must release the bad blood and toxins clogging your veins. His chosen method? Leeches. The thought alone makes you uneasy, but in this world where samurai fight with razor-sharp swords and peasants toil endlessly, you realize that modern medicine as you know it does not exist. The doctor prepares a small bowl filled with murky water, from which he carefully plucks the wriggling leeches, small, dark creatures with a slimy, glistening body that you instinctively recoil from. You lie on a wooden bench, muscles aching and spirit low, as the doctor applies the leeches to your skin, usually on your arm or leg, where they latch on and begin to suck. The sensation is strange and unsettling, a cold, pulling feeling that soon turns to warmth as the creatures feed. You're told that this will draw out the impurities poisoning your body and restore balance. While the treatment is meant to heal, it feels more like a torture, and you can't help but wonder how such a grotesque practice has survived for centuries. Around you, the healer murmurs ancient incantations, mixing herbal poultices and powders to soothe the bites once the leeches are removed. The wounds sting, and you're warned to keep them clean to prevent infection, a real danger in a time without antibiotics. Your mind drifts to tales of samurai who have faced far worse in battle, but the fear and discomfort of this strange healing ritual make you question your luck. Days pass, and though your fever begins to break, you remain weak, wary of every strange sound and ache. The villagers regard you with a mix of sympathy and quiet suspicion, as if your body's weakness reflects on your very worth in this harsh society. The doctor visits regularly, adjusting treatments and warning you that the road to recovery is slow and uncertain. There's no magic pill here, only ancient wisdom passed down through generations, wrapped in rituals that feel alien and unsettling. This experience opens your eyes to the fragility of life in feudal Japan and the resilience needed just to survive illness. The leeches and potions may seem barbaric to your modern mind, but they are part of a long chain of tradition, a testament to human hope and the desperate search for healing in a world without modern science. You leave the healer's hut forever marked, not just by the scars of the leech bites, but by a deeper understanding of the culture you've been thrust into. You finally earn respect, and then immediately insult a monk. After weeks of grueling labor in the rice fields, awkward attempts at conversation with the villagers, and careful navigation of social rituals, you begin to feel a fragile sense of belonging in this rigid feudal society. Your back no longer aches as sharply from the endless work, your speech grows more confident, and you even earn a few nods of approval from the local elders and samurai. Respect, that elusive currency of this world, seems just within reach. You walk the narrow village paths with a cautious pride, your clothes cleaner, your posture straighter. People begin to recognize your face, not just as the strange foreigner who stumbled into their lives, but as someone who is trying, struggling, learning. For a moment, you believe you might truly survive this harsh world, even thrive. Then, in the quiet temple courtyard, your newfound dignity shatters in a matter of seconds. A weathered monk sits cross-legged beneath the shade of a blossoming cherry tree, eyes closed in meditation, exuding an aura of calm wisdom. You approach, eager to show respect or perhaps seek guidance, but your nerves betray you. In a nervous attempt to make conversation, you ask a question, awkward, badly phrased, culturally insensitive, and you unwittingly insult the sacred traditions that the monk embodies. His eyes snap open, dark and piercing, the serene expression replaced by a flash of cold disapproval. The villagers nearby freeze, sensing the rupture in the delicate social fabric. Whispers spread like wildfire. He does not understand. He disrespects the way. You watch helplessly as the monk's stern rebuke cuts through the air, a reprimand not just for your words but for your ignorance and the careless pride you wore too soon. In feudal Japan, respect is earned slowly, through humility, patience, and observance of strict social codes. One misstep, especially against a figure of spiritual authority, can undo weeks, even months of effort. Your face burns with shame as you realize how quickly the image you painstakingly built crumbles. The monk's quiet condemnation lingers in the air, a reminder that honor is fragile, easily broken, and that outsiders must tread carefully in this world woven tightly with tradition. This moment marks a harsh but invaluable lesson. Respect here is not a given, it must be guarded and nurtured. Words carry weight beyond their meaning, and the smallest gesture can shift the balance between acceptance and exile. You leave the temple with your head bowed, humbled but determined to learn from this failure, knowing that in feudal Japan, survival means mastering not just the physical world, but the unseen currents of honor and respect that govern every interaction. You wake up in the modern world and miss the rice, a little. You open your eyes to a world that is impossibly bright and loud. The hum of traffic replaces the crow of roosters, and the sterile scent of modern life fills your lungs instead of the earthy aroma of rice paddies and incense. The cold breeze is gone, replaced by controlled warmth indoors. Your bed is soft and unfamiliar, a stark contrast to the hard straw mat you once woke up on. You are home. At last home. Yet something inside you feels strangely unsettled. The convenience of hot showers, fluffy pillows, and fast food is undeniable, but in the quiet moments, when your mind drifts, you find yourself reaching for memories of a world that was harder, harsher, but deeply real. You recall the clack of wooden geta sandals against stone paths, the simple but comforting taste of cold rice broth sipped under a gray morning sky, the ritual of bowing and the weight of honor in every glance. The slow pace, the silent games, the reverence for nature and tradition, all these fragments linger, unexpected and bittersweet. You miss the rhythm of that life, the rawness of survival, the strange beauty in its strict codes and subtle gestures. You realize that, despite its hardships, feudal Japan taught you lessons no modern convenience ever could: patience, humility, resilience, and the quiet strength of endurance. The past has etched itself into your being, coloring your thoughts with an odd nostalgia for cold soup and worn sandals. As you close this chapter and step fully into your own time again, you carry those lessons forward. You know now that history isn't just dusty facts or distant stories. It's lived experience, a mirror reflecting the human spirit across centuries. Thank you for joining me on this journey through feudal Japan. If you found this story as fascinating and immersive as I hoped, please leave a comment sharing your thoughts or which part surprised you most. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Quiet Story for more deeply atmospheric and boring history tales designed to help you drift into sleep. Until next time, may your dreams be calm and your mornings filled with unexpected wisdom. Good night.